Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're taking a look here at Unifi, whatever you want to call it. This could be the bee's knees for some folks, and other people that have been trying to short for a long time are getting hammered. So please be careful shorting this coin. That's kind of the common disclaimer that I send out on every one of my messages. As a matter of fact, I think I sent one out here recently from, was it Unifi? Where was it here? Right there. Yeah, we had this nice little combination of a triangle and a rising wedge. And I said, be careful shorting this coin. This is a win, typically, these kind of patterns here. And obviously, the price is much higher now at this point. So again, keep in mind, patterns have a tendency of repeating themselves until they don't. We're going to take a look here at this falling wedge and also the potential for further upside. Again, as per usual, kind of the common theme here. Because the falling wedge is very similar to a bullish flag. So a bull flag pattern where the price action comes up, works itself into a descending type of trend and continues upwards. And the main reason why is because it derived from the bottom. Okay, so again, keep in mind, this coin may not be done running yet. Okay, so please be careful shorting. That said, this is where we're at here. So what we want to do is take a look at a few key factors. Just before we jump into that, I do want to congratulate some of my community members here for some nice profits this weekend. It wasn't nothing major. These are just 5x trades, but we're looking at a 28.5% and a 43.2% trade from Bell and ARPA. These are coins we sent out roughly 3 to 7 days ago. So again, that's where swing trading is beneficial. As long as you're careful with your trades and you don't use large position sizing, I think you can survive this kind of market. So those ugly candle wicks and candlesticks that throw things off. And also, cool thing is we're seeing a lot of new members here, just consistency and a lot of new folks coming over to our Discord. So greatly appreciate that. Definitely love working with you there. Come on over if you want to have a chance to engage and interact with some of our community members. Really cool community. All right, so with UNFI, what we want to talk about is on the daily. We've talked about this previously. We've got this ascending trend here, working concurrent with the moving averages. The 20-day set moving average is working itself up a little more aggressively because it's most recent price action. But for lack of better terms, we're seeing this ascending trend. Okay, so until we break below that, we can assume the price is going to go up. Now, it'll probably go sideways here eventually soon. It has to slow down a little bit, but generally speaking, it may not drop and pull back as hard as you'd expect. A lot of folks that are short at about $5 or $6, I'm sorry, I don't know if it's going to come back down for you. And unfortunately, I had somebody message me with like a very large position size, even only at just 2x, but it was just destroying their account. So again, low leverage is fine, but low position size is better. Okay, so keep in mind, try to make sure that you do not get super greedy just because other folks are trying to short this coin doesn't mean you should. And honestly, it doesn't look like it wants to pull back at all. In fact, we kind of go back, kind of zoom out a little bit, have our most recent high here back in February. As a matter of fact, that was the highest point in which we saw the price action. It was right there at roughly one-day candlestick close of $7. So just to reiterate, the price does pull back. We will see $7 as a potential reality for us here. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at there. But honestly, based on yesterday's price action and or today's, if you combine the two together, there's really no reason to expect the price to drop down because we're getting a lot of volume in this coin, and that's a really important thing to look at. So as the volume continues to increase, we stay above this moving average here, we're in pretty darn good shape to see the price action stay where it's at. Okay. Now, it could start to dissipate, but for lack of better terms here, this coin is here to stay for the moment. Okay. Seems to be that the volume is just steadily increasing and staying the same. Or at the very least, remaining the same and not going down at all, and that's a big deal. Take a look quickly at the volume profile. We want to kind of look at this here and understand. Obviously, previous data tells us right around the $4 mark is the average price. Now, if we zoom in a little bit here and kind of take the last roughly just say month or two worth of trading, we can still see that $4 mark, but we can see a most amount of volume here is about 776. Okay, so again, we zoom in a little bit here, we can kind of see second most amount of volume minus this low shelf here is accumulating right at the current price range, okay? Or at least below the price range, or 770 roughly. Okay, so that does imply that this 3 days of consolidation built enough volume if the price comes back down, it'll probably sustain itself and hold there for a little bit longer, okay? So again, all the more reason to kind of just be cautious and careful when taking a short position on this trade. If we take a look at RSI, we can see we're well above 70. Typically the price has to come down eventually, but we got that little bounce off that support. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the price action stay where it's at or go higher here moving forward based on those sentiments there. Money flow index is at an all-time high. Super high amount of volume coming in. Money flowing in, price stays where it's at or goes up. We can see stochastic is trying to diverge, but really hasn't yet. So all in all, there's not a lot of reason to bet against this coin right now. It's just kind of it's a bit of a gamble if you're to do that. Okay, so just be cautious. If you do short, I would say tighter position sizes. We may see a price action somewhere in the $8 range, about $8.13 is a rough estimate based on the most recent high. Because obviously you can see this here, this pattern here that essentially broke out to the upside. That's pretty standard stuff there when you see that kind of rising wedge. Speaking of rising wedge, we'll look at the smaller time frames to identify more, I guess, micro types of patterns. But for right now, the price action could and should gravitate towards that $8 mark and then likely bounce from there because, once again, previous resistance turns support. The price will likely bounce there if it pulls back to that level. Okay, so good entry for this coin would be somewhere in the $8.13 range. Okay, that's roughly what we're looking at there. So taking a look at the moving averages here on the 4-hour. Once again, 20-day SMA is working its way up. We are still above that trend. No reason to bet against it. Until we break below the 20-day SMA, there's no reason to consider going to the downside, right? Again, you can keep some tight profit targets here as long as if you're working your way down, that's okay. But do not get super greedy and hold a short down to $4. This is not Cybercoin, okay? This is not a coin that's going to drop to the floor after an initial pump. It's here to stay, and there's a reason for it. Tremendous amount of volume. You got to respect that. Okay. Taking a look also too here at the RSI. Starting to taper off a little bit nicer, getting down closer to 50. We can see a divergence here forming on the MACD, but keep in mind, last time this coin diverged, it came down by a short margin and ramped right back up. Okay, so all the more reason to be careful and cautious. In fact, let's take a quick look at these patterns here, just so you can kind of see what I was referring to earlier. We have this triangle pattern, standard triangle where it comes down, basically establishes higher lows and higher highs, and then effectively breaks out to the upside because it derived from this angle here. Okay. Furthermore, too, with this falling wedge, this may seem bearish based on the color. Don't let that fool you. It's typical and concurrent where falling wedge patterns are very similar to bull flag patterns. Okay, bull flag is just a little straighter, where the price action, it's like straight lines instead of kind of collapsing in on itself. But what it's basically doing is it's creating lower lows and lower highs, but essentially working itself into a channel, and it eventually breaks up here once it hits a support. It could even go for a little bit longer and come down to here, and then break to the upside, once again reiterating that previous resistance level. But the fact of the matter is here, this most recent high should work as a most recent low, and we'll likely see a bounce off 840. That's a pretty strong probability based again on this most recent high and this falling wedge pattern so far. Okay, take a look at the hour. Let's go ahead and just summarize here. One last little thing to look at will be the Ichimoku cloud. We're above the cloud. As you can see, the cloud's consolidating right about that 850 mark, reaffirming some support in this range where the price is currently at. And of course, lagging span is intersecting with price action within the next few hours. So long story short here is to not take a long or a short position. And the main reason why is because this momentous trend is coming to an end, and it could very well turn itself around. Okay, so again, I know it seems conflicting with the overall sense of things, but the macro looks fairly strong. The 4-hour time frame looks like it might shift momentum in the next day or two. And then the hourly is telling us we're starting to lose this little push here, and we're kind of losing some gas here. So again, when we have situations like this where we have conflicting information on the larger time frames and smaller time frames, I prefer to avoid taking a trade personally. That's why we haven't sent a swing trade signal on this coin in some time. We got stopped out of a short position, one of our only positions we had to close, not in profit this month. And it was unfortunate, sure, but that happens. I'm glad we closed at the $6 mark. We'd be in the bright red right now if we held until now. So again, learn to take your losses. Those are all things I teach in my trading academy. So again, just to confirm, we do have a summertime sale right now for our trading crypto cash premium essentially, and I have some premium videos that you might want to watch if you're currently a member, and make sure you familiarize yourself with those things because I talk about this in great detail, managing your emotions, cutting your losses, and it's important to recognize that if you don't do that, you're going to be taking all your profits and flushing them down the toilet. It's a terrible, terrible feeling to lose everything you've gained just because you got a little greedy. And unfortunately, this coin is wrecking a lot of people. Shorts are just getting hammered. Okay, so again, very careful with the shorts, tight targets, tight stop losses, low position size, low leverage. Basically, the easiest way to stay alive. Be careful trusting those in which you watch those on Twitter, Telegram, the whole 9 yards, showing you 500 to 1000x with 125x coins. It's very difficult to manage that. Some people get lucky and good entries, but they're getting smashed and hammered trying to find that perfect entry so they can share with you a really nice looking trade when, truth be told, their portfolio is probably upside down because they got stopped out, or they're using $2 or $3 per trade, and it's no big deal. Okay? So be very careful with that. profit is it's an interesting thing. All right. Anyways, I hope that made sense. So either way, thanks again so much for joining me here. This is the kind of the extent of it here. We'll keep this on the radar here for the near future. Thanks again to my community members for requesting I cover this. I think, what was it? Again, if you're part of my community, you can jump on over here into requests. JCXB81, thank you very much for asking I cover this coin. That's exactly what I'm here for, right? So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you in the next video. Take good care.